Peace, 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 peace. Welcome back to Send the Record Straight podcast. It's Vix Lane Hope,
It's your girl Kai.
and today we're gonna be discussing the Derek Chauvin, however you pronounce his last name, trial. I mean the verdict, right? So he was found guilty on all charges. Everybody was out here celebrating, crying, and all emotionally heartfelt, and like though everybody celebrated, right?
Right.
So we gonna discuss that a little bit, and I'm gonna let Kai go first, and I'm gonna jump on, and I'm gonna bounce off of her. You know.
So I feel like, definitely I was watching it before like they announced it. So I was basically like waiting, like, with the news or whatever. And honestly, like I went into it with no expectations, right? Because in the past, like there's definitely been situations where, like we assumed that the person would be guilty or the cop would be convicted and they weren't. So for my own mental health, you know what I'm saying, I went into it like no expectations, right? And so when they announced that he was guilty on all three charges, I was I was pleasantly surprised. And I feel like, like to me, it didn't make me feel good, right? Because at the end of the day, like this man is still like dead. This man is still not here. And no verdict, no conviction, no jail time is ever gonna bring this man back, right? So that's number one. And I just feel like, that this is, to me, it didn't feel like we won. It just felt like this is something that was supposed to happen. He was held accountable for what he did. Um, and yeah, like I'm not gonna say like I was crying, I was jumping for joy, because to me it didn't signify that much.
Okay, cool. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So yeah, I think that I mean, of course, right? Like, I feel like, yeah, you can't bring nobody back, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we know that, right? Like, it's just like, somebody died, somebody gone. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's just what it is. And I think like having at least like having a guilty verdict is definitely better than not having one, right?
Right.
So I think that I think that people felt like they felt like relieved. Like, I feel like even the people that I feel like if they didn't have a guilty verdict, I feel like people was gonna have to do something. People was gonna have to, like, and I felt like even the people who felt like this, because let me tell you something. The worst thing that you want is that you get forced in a situation where you got to go do something, because now, like, you're putting yourself in danger. Whoever's gonna be out there, right? Whoever the protesters are, whoever's doing whatever they're doing, right? Like, you putting yourself in a situation, because it's like when the state be like, now what? It's just like when people say they have demands, and I tell people, like, you can't have a demand unless you say or else, right? Unless you have a or else. And I think, like, if they didn't convict them, like, people was gonna be challenged with the or else, right? Because now you got to go do something. Now you got to, like, otherwise everything just falls apart, whatever. So, and I was out there in Minneapolis too, like, right before the trial started, and I was thinking about going back, but then I was just kind of like, do I really want to be in that situation? I already was in a crazy situation when I went to the memorial. You know what I'm saying? When there was a shooting at the memorial. So, like, I just felt like it was a lot of stuff going on. Even like before the trial, before the verdict, there was some reports of like people letting off shots at the police and the National Guard. So I just knew it was gonna be like a little reckless out there for me to just be out there. Even when I was out there, there were people with the protesters that were armed, right? Like, they were like armed security with like bulletproof vests, M16s, and they were not police. So, like, I just know that something was gonna happen. But anyway, I wanted to just say this about the whole situation, that people are like celebrating. Some people are, and I seen a post, like, people are celebrating, but it's like, he gets sentenced 2 months from now.
Hmm.
So, like, I think that, like, that's another thing that people don't take into effect. Another thing is, a lot of people don't really know the laws, right? Like, so it's like he gets sentenced 2 months from now, and then just because the maximum, is like 40, and like whatever 10 on this, and like, doesn't mean you're gonna get the max.
Right.
Like, it's up to the judge discretion, and the judge could really go out there and give him the minimum. You know what I'm saying? Like the judge could really be like, you know what, like this what you're gonna get. So I think that if people just wanted a conviction, you got it, right? Like now if people conviction is one thing, now pushing for a certain amount of time is another thing. You know, like so I think like that's something that some people don't understand when it comes to like the court system. It's just like, okay, cool. Like they you gotta pay. A lot of people get tricked by the language. It just because it says the maximum is 40 years on this, the maximum is 15 years on this. The maximum does not mean they're gonna get the maximum. So I just want people to understand that. You know, that's another thing I was gonna mention. I was gonna mention appeal. I was gonna mention that like you can also appeal, you know what I'm saying, your conviction. You know, like Tupac did it. Tupac was convicted of rape and then he appealed it. And while you on appeal, you can get bail. So, you know, that's another thing. That's another realistic thing. Personally, yeah, you know, that's probably so I just wanted to get into that. I just wanted to get into like one, we don't know how much time he gonna get, but like, at the end of the day, we don't know what the people want, right? Like we are divided. Like some people just want a conviction, some people want him to get mad time, right? Like at least 20 years or more. So I think like we you know, as a group, we're not even in you know what I'm saying, like we don't even know what we really want as a group, as black folks, right? um but I think it's a good thing because a lot of people was doubting that he was going to get convicted because they gave his family money. They gave his family money, like they gave them like what, like 20 some mil
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. They gave them money right before like the verdict. So a lot of people was like, oh, they never really give money and convict somebody, you know. So they was just like, oh, like a lot of people was precipitating like, yo, they're gonna quit him. They're gonna let him go. So, you know, it was another like curveball, right? Because it was like they gave money and they convicted him. And then today I seen posts of people talking about like that dude is a clone. They try to show a picture, like, and I'm just like, yo, people be just pushing it, be just dragging it. And I'm just like, yo, we always like it's like even when stuff work in our so-called favor, it's like it's always somebody with a conspiracy. It's always somebody with like, yo, that's a clone. That's not the real cop. Like, you know, so like but yeah, I just wanted to say also about the appeal. I just think like you can appeal. He can appeal like yeah, he blew trial, but he can appeal it. He could, you know, he could put in the process. I don't even know if he could do it from right now before he gets sentenced. I'm not so sure, but I do know that he can appeal and he could be out on bail while he's on appeal.
Right. So I feel like they kind of like we're in this climate with everything that's going on right now in terms of social justice. And I think really the only reason why you know, there's been so many um organizing being done right now is simply because, you know, people have time. People have time. A lot of people are unemployed or people are frustrated. People are going through a lot of financial hardships. So it's something to do. Um, and with that being said, at this point, I feel like they had to give us that conviction. I feel like they felt that way. I feel like it was like he was like kind of like a guinea pig, right? Because it's like we have this huge court case. We saw what happened originally when just the video came out, right? Like all across like the country with the different reactions from people, like even connecting it to the Capitol, right? Even though that was obviously like a different type of like organizing, or that was on a different spectrum, it was still organizing, right, in its own fashion. So I feel like with this climate, with everything that's going on right now, I just really feel like they convicted him because they knew they knew that they kind of had to. They knew that by convict. I feel like they knew by convicting him that sometimes they throw out like every now and then, every few years, they throw out these little bones for us to feel like we've accomplished something, that we've done something, that things are not as bad as how they used to be. So it's easy now when people talk about the whole George Floyd situation for folks to say, you know, well, they did convict him. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like if they didn't convict them, then it would have just, it kind of would have like, in its own way, I feel like it kind of would have fueled the fire. You know what I'm saying? Like it would have let people, it would have shown that, yo, this country is racist, right? Like this justice system is corrupt. This justice system, we cannot rely on this justice system. Like we have cops that the whole world watched killed this guy and like he wasn't convicted. So I kind of feel like I feel like they had to. And I kind of feel like off of his reaction watching him, like he had no, like, not that I expected him to like cry or anything like that when he got convicted, but I kind of like low key feel, and I'm going into like conspiracy theory or whatever. There's no facts based on about what I'm about to say, but I kind of feel like he already knew what it was. You know what I'm saying? Before he got sentenced, I feel like they already told him the situation. I feel like they already was like, "Yo, listen, we're gonna have to give you this rap. You're gonna have to take it. You're gonna have to be the guinea pig because yo, these people is wild. If we don't do it, it's gonna be a huge riot, a huge, whatever. So let's just give you these years. We're gonna appeal it. Boom, boom. Here's the plan, and you probably do a few years and get out, and nobody won't even notice. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like there's a bigger plan. So I'm like you said, I'm interested in seeing the sentencing, how long he gets, and I'm also interested in seeing if he does do an appeal, which I feel like will get less media coverage, by the way.
Oh yeah, definitely. Once you in jail, like, look, and I think like that's good. That you said that. Somebody just said he tried to take a plea deal apparently beforehand. I don't know how true that is, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna be very interesting, like you said, right? Because it's like if you go to jail, right? Let's say boom, let's say the judge, and that could be a part, that could be a scheme too. And I'm not gonna sit here and play like the scheme game and the conspiracy theories,
Right.
but the judge could come out and be like, boom, 40 years for this. Boom, you know what I'm saying? Like act all crazy and everybody rejuvenate and be happy. And then on the low, he could submit his appeal. You know what I'm saying? They could get him out of jail on less time and it won't have a lot of coverage. And nobody will really know. Like unless they really looking him up constantly or they doing whatever, right? But like I feel like even in that, because he was a cop, they probably seal the record so you won't be able to look him up. They probably do some whole funny stuff. So I feel like that could be a possibility too. I feel like they could let him appeal, get him up out of here, and be like, "Yo, just move somewhere, just go somewhere." You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the best we could do for you. You're gonna do like five,
Right.
maybe eight. So I don't know. Like I think that like there's a lot of possibilities, but I think that like you said, right? Like Malcolm X said this too, right? Make sure y'all like the video so it could circulate. Malcolm X said this one time too, right? He said, and I remember me and you was having an argument about this. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Me and you was having an argument about this, and I was like, yo, like black people do this every decade. Like they get crazy, they get riled up, and it's funny because we was watching the Grapevine episode that you were showing me, right? Where they were talking about what the dude was talking about, how all this is promising, like this is the how he was talking about the riots got stuff done, got legislation passed, and X, Y, Z, and I'm like, yo, like I was literally out there when the police was out there and people was rioting, and like the police was just letting people steal, like they wasn't trying to. What happened?
Now I want to let you finish.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so like they wasn't stopping nobody. So I feel like they literally, I feel like the country let people get away with doing things. Like and so when people sit here and get gassed up, you know what I'm saying? When people sit here and get gassed up and talk about, oh, like we got stuff done. We was out here looting, we was out here doing this, and they got legislation passed. I'm like, yo, hold on. Let me tell you something. Like I witnessed it firsthand. The police was not trying to stop nobody. The police was not making no arrests. The only people they, matter of fact, the only people they arrested was like physical stuff. Like anybody got that got physical with police, right? But when I was out there, literally, the police was pulling up, and if they caught you inside of a store, like you know how many people was in Gucci, and the police was just driving past. Like I was literally right there, right there. I contemplated going to get some loafers. You know what I'm saying? But nah, but like the police literally will come up and will be like, all right, yo, y'all got like 10 seconds to get out the store. You know what I'm saying? So they'll let everybody get out the store, and they wasn't locking up nobody. So I'm saying that to say that like Malcolm X said, every once in a while, every decade, every few years, they let you get out your frustration. Every once in a while, they'll let you run around the streets. They'll let you burn something. They'll let you do something, right? Because at the end of the day, they know you're not really shifting nothing. They know you're not really doing nothing. You just angry. And Malcolm X said, like, every once in a while, every couple of years, they let you get these little symptoms off. He
Mm-hmm.
said because what they fear the big explosion.
Mm-hmm.
They fear a big explosion that they're not gonna be able to put out. So what they do is they
They
let you get it.
Yeah, they give you little bones. This was an example of a bone that they just threw to us.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So they let you get a little, you know what I'm saying. They let the people burn police cars. I'm looking at people like this. Look, let me tell you something. If the police wanted to, if the government wanted to, they would have shut all of that down. You know what I'm saying? If the police really wanted to, especially in New York. New York is a police state. You're not about to sit here and tell me the police could not stop people from looting in New York. You can't tell me that. If you're a New Yorker, you know this. If you don't believe this, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? You cannot sit here and tell me that the police could not have stopped people from looting. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, look, it's only certain areas that have a lot of stores, right? In New York City. You know what I'm saying? Like it's only certain areas. So at the end of the day, like they let people get it off. They let people get away with certain things. Yo, they had helicopters out there. Listen, they had helicopters. I wouldn't even be surprised if they came back a few years from now. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't be surprised if they came back a few years from now and start locking people up. And I be saying that, like with all the scamming and whatever. I don't know if they're gonna throw in the looting in there, but I'm telling people like as soon as the courts clear up, people gonna be getting locked up. So I wouldn't even be surprised if they been like, yo, you was looting, you know what I'm saying, in during the protests of the summer of 2020, we caught you looting. You know what I'm saying? Because the helicopter sees everything clearly, and people was coming up with their cars, pulling up, throwing stuff in their trunks, driving to the next stores. They were like they had this whole. It wasn't even about George Floyd, and I think like everybody got. I don't want to get carried away, but all of this is like symptomatic of like people thinking that we won and we have achieved some type of victory. Now, if I start seeing more cops being convicted and given a lot of time, like that's different. But until I see that, like I don't really think this is a victory.
Right. So yeah, just going into that conversation about like that specific topic with the grapevine, I actually agree with the guy who said that, right? Because in the two states in which they had the most two cities to be specific, New York City and Minneapolis, those are the two states that had the most riots. And in those two states, those were the only two states in which legislation was passed. So I mean, I understand, and I also feel like the whole conversation about um like looting and rioting, all that stuff. Like me personally, I feel like oh, before I jump into that, so the acts that were passed, it was called the George Floyd Law Enforcement Trust and Integrity Act. And I think it was the other one is called the Ending Qualified Immunity Act. That was another.
Yeah.
Those that were passed, right? And these two acts, I don't quote me because I don't specifically remember what these two acts are. But they're basically supposed to hold police officers accountable and open up departments in which they investigate police misconduct. Because one of the big things in a George Floyd case and what they're still looking into now is that Derek, the cop who murdered George Floyd, had a very long history of being excessive in his policing. And this is not his first instance in which he put his knee on a person's neck, right?
Oh, to interject real quick, they've been had open a like a investigation unit for like police officers. They've been did that.
Right, 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 right,
No, I just wanted to no, that's I just want to show you like these are the games they play, right? Like it's like they've been. Remember, like around 2012, 2014, when the Freddie Grays, the all of that stuff was happening, all these people was getting killed. It was like a wave. They opened up a department specifically to look into like the conduct of like police officers and stuff like that. So
right.
but
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
of looting, right? I have a different perspective. Me personally, I feel like what was particularly troubling to me, specifically on social media, because during this time, during COVID, social media has definitely, the amount of people who are using social media has increased. And on social media, everybody feels a need to share their opinion. What was particularly very unique to me was that before the looting and the rioting started, right? Because the looting and rioting did not immediately start after the George Floyd situation, right? It was a little moment before the rioting started, right? Some people spoke up, some people said how they felt about it. Usually the same people, right, who are usually speaking about, black men and black people who are murdered by cops, they spoke up. And then when the looting started, right, all of a sudden this whole wave of people who I've never heard from before, people who are not involved in social justice, people who have never uttered a word about anything related to any type of a movement, all of a sudden had everything to say about the looting, right? And to me, what that signified to me was that this property, right, this corporation is more important to you than this man's life, right? And that's just something that I personally couldn't respect. So whenever somebody tried to have a conversation with me about looting, it would get me very upset. And yeah, like I just didn't have space for that. I don't come to me talking to me about the CVS and you had nothing else to say prior to this about anybody. People were literally getting up here crying about the Gucci store being looted. No, I'm not even being funny. Crying about the Gucci store being looted,
Uh,
but had no tears to shed about George Floyd, about Freddie Gray, about any of these black men that we've continuously seen being murdered by the state. So you was quiet before, please stay quiet now. That's just my whole thing. Don't get up here talking to me about nothing about the CVS, about the Gucci store, about no corporation, about no store, please. Now I understand how looting, I understand how rioting is destructive to the community, but in that regard, that specifically is what angered me in that conversation about looting and rioting.
I I I mean, I see what you're saying, but like at the same time, it's like, yo, like when I gotta go get supplies from the CVS and y'all burnt it down. You know what I'm saying? What we need that. Like it don't make sense. It's not mentally conducive to do that. Like that's like burning your supermarket in your neighborhood. Like you know what I'm saying? Because they killed the like I get what you're trying to say, right? Like I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying here, I'm saying go ahead, burn it down. Don't burn it down in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's dumb. That's mad dumb. Like you sitting here burning look, you burning department stores on your neighborhood. You burning like mom or you going to mom and pop businesses. You going into places that you are going to need stuff from. You need toilet tissue. So if you burnt the department store, you gotta go somewhere else to get toilet tissue, right? You gotta like my whole thing is like this. If you try to create, they don't care. That's not gonna create change. Burning the stuff in your neighborhood that probably really doesn't belong to you or whatever, or you need it. It doesn't do like they don't care about that. They don't care about that. Like, you know what I'm saying? They looking at you like, yeah, go burn your supermarket. Go burn your gas station that you need gas from.
Well, I don't. Well, I don't know about your community and your neighborhood, but I know specifically about mine. My neighborhood. I live in Brooklyn. Brooklyn wasn't touched, right? Brooklyn wasn't touched. The parts of the city that I knew was touched. Like I said, I'm not from uptown, so maybe you could say maybe certain parts of uptown was touched. I'm not sure, but Brooklyn wasn't touched at all. And specifically the part of Manhattan that I'm being touched because I was working at the time. Was like kind of like by Broadway, like kind of like Soho, where all the like the designer stores kind of are. Now that those are the parts that I remember being looted or
That's
burnt.
not black neighborhoods. That's irrelevant to what I'm saying. I'm talking about people. Listen, I'm talking about people destroying their communities. Nobody talking about Soho.
Right,
Nobody talking about Gucci, Louis, G Star. Nobody talking about those stores.
right.
I'm talking about people. It don't got to be just in New York. People throughout the country burning stuff in their neighborhoods. I went to Minnesota. I
Oh,
seen how I seen how it looked in Minnesota in parts that belong to like this is why people was coming out and putting up signs like please don't burn my business down.
mm-hmm,
Please don't loot my shop. Please like no, that was dumb.
mm-hmm,
Nobody talking about Gucci, Louis, Fendi, whatever. I'm talking about people burning their moms and pop shops,
mm-hmm,
people destroying department stores when they know they're gonna go need toothbrush, they're gonna need in your neighborhood. At the
mm-hmm.
end of the day, it's not gonna do nothing. Like you said, it's not gonna bring him back. You know what is it gonna do? What change is burning a department store that has insurance gonna do?
I'm just talking. Well, I specifically was just talking about New York. I don't go to
No, no,
Minnesota.
I'm asking you a question. What is burning a department store or Gucci Louis that they have insurance? You know what I'm saying? So what is that gonna do?
It does absolutely nothing.
That's the point. And that's the whole
But
and that's the whole thing. Huh?
I'm not concerned about that though.
All right, but that's the point. If it does nothing, why are we doing it?
I get what you're saying, but it's just not at what my problem is. And again, like I said, it's just that I feel like, right? peaceful protests are still going on to this day, right? Before the rioting and the looting happened, peaceful protests were going on. The minute that those protests turned violent is when media coverage came in and took in and they started to show what was going on, right? Because the protests started to become violent. That's when they started to shift the cameras and show what was going on. And I feel like violence is the only thing that white supremacy, like money and violence, are the only thing that white supremacy responds to. And me personally, like, a lot of people felt like, the rioting was un-American, or it was wrong. And rioting is very American. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could name so many riots, you know what I'm saying, that has occurred, like, between, especially like within like the country, between people within the country, like, definitely. So for me, like I said, like, I just feel like once they started to talk about, or once they started to, the only time when we saw media coverage on what was going on the protests was when they were violent. Because immediately, as soon as those riots stopped, and as those peaceful protests continued to go on, I feel like that way people conflated the two, right? So people conflated looters and whatever to the rioters or to the protesters, right? They conflated the two. So automatically people were automatically attributing everybody who was a part of this movement, whatever like that, for George Floyd as looters, right? Um and that to me was the problem. And that was also like another mechanism, right? Because now we're not talking about the actual problem. We're not talking about George Floyd. We're not talking about Derek Chauvin. We're talking about the Gucci store being looted. We're talking about the CVS being burned down. Like, so to me, it's just distracting. You know what I'm saying? It's just not, I'm not coming in and sitting down and crying about the CVS. I understand what you're saying, but me personally, I'm not doing that. And I'm not upset at people who do that.
Some people ain't mad about not having toothpaste. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, I ain't mad at them. You know what I'm saying? Yo, bitch, I like the video. But look, I ain't mad at them.
Hold on, hold on. Sorry, hold on. The problem is not that these communities were looted or these places were looted, right? The problem is that these communities are significantly underfunded or not, and not cared about. Because we saw in the city, at least for me, right? We saw in the city, we saw that Gucci, Louis, Fendi, whatever like that, these places were up and running within a few days, right? And that's because the money that's behind it. That's because of these communities. You know what I'm saying? That's because of these communities are funded, right? So the problem in reality, to me, is not really the fact that these stores were destroyed. It shows a wider picture of the way that different communities are, taken care after or funded. Um, yeah, because CVS was burned down, but CVS could be put back up in 2 days. We can see that in the city, but we don't see that necessarily in a Brooklyn or, well, depending on what part of Brooklyn you are, maybe you will. But yeah.
I forgot what I was gonna say, man. Damn, I lost my train of thought, man, because it was like, damn. But yeah, I just, damn, I forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, it's just like, all right, again, like you said, it's just a bone. It's just a little explosion. You know what I'm saying? They feared the big explosion, so they let you do a little something. You know what I'm saying? So we doing the same thing. We doing in the 60s, they did the same thing. In the 60s, they burnt down Detroit. They burnt down inner city neighborhoods. And guess what? 20 years later, 30 years later, we still talking about the same thing. 40 years later, we still talking about the same thing. So what did burning down their neighborhoods do in the 60s? And we were using the same tactics, same exact tactics. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know their history. We're using the same exact tactics that they used in the 60s, that they used in the 70s. But you know what's so funny? When the Black Panther Party was out here, they didn't go burn down businesses. They didn't go. Look, we want to talk about, because you mentioned violence and money is the only thing that white supremacy respects. Okay, with the Panther Party understood that. You know what they did? They were shooting police. Now, I ain't telling nobody go out there and shoot police now, but I'm just saying, if your problem is with the cops, don't take it out on CVS. Don't take it out on Gucci. Don't take it out on Louis, because Louis ain't the problem. Gucci ain't go handle your business. Go handle. That's like me getting into beef in the street, and I come home and beat my wife. Why am I taking it out on her? She don't got nothing to do with nothing. So when people sit here, and I get what you're saying, people are more concerned about the building than the person that died. Okay, cool. That's one way to put it. But I'm also putting it like, yo, they didn't have none. Like. Let's think about it. The police, they killed this dude. It's nothing to find out where police live. You know what I'm saying? An angry mob could have went to this dude house. You know what I'm saying? They could have whatever. That could be done. That could have been done. They could have did that. They could have did that. Or they did all that running around the city, burning places down, trashing the places, and then as a last resort, they're like, yo, we're gonna go pull up to the cop house. By the time they get to the cop house, it was mad cops there. It was mad, you know what I'm saying? So it's like my whole thing is like, come on, like I'm not sitting here. I'm not. It's dumb. It's dumb. Like, and I just think it's stupid. Like, if your problem is the police, go handle it. You know what I'm saying? Go handle it with the police. I say that about dudes in the hood all the time. When the police come through, they violate you. They talk to you however. They'll beat your daughter. They'll slap your mom. They'll slap you. They'll do whatever. But then these dudes will be sitting here saying they man before anything. But they only man before anything when it comes to other black men in their hood. They only man before anything when it comes to another black brother like them. You know what I'm saying? But when that same man come through, you know what I'm saying? Because he got a badge and a gun, y'all motherfuckers got guns too. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I just feel like the easiest thing to do was to go burn down the CVS. The easiest thing to do was to go loot a building or to go do something like that, right? That was the easiest thing to do. You know, they felt good about doing it, right? They got a little money in their pocket. You know, people was out here selling, reselling stuff. That's all they really did. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is it don't so like you said, right? Money and violence. You know what I'm saying? And that's why the Black Panther Party was a threat. That's why the Black Panther Party was a threat. You know why? Because they was just like, nah, police out here wilding, y'all bugging. I'm saying, and police was losing their lives. So I just think that like, if unless that starts happening, and again, I'm not saying here, but I'm just saying like, if you're gonna be violent, right? If you're gonna be like protecting yourself, this is the only thing that's gonna get coverage. I mean, they got a little coverage burning the buildings, but again, like people been doing that for centuries. They've been doing that for decades. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't really changed nothing, in my opinion, right? But who knows? Maybe this time it will change something. I don't know. But that's just my spiel. My spiel is like, if your problem with the police or with the legislators, go take it out with them. Figure out ways that you can get to them. Figure out ways to really get into their pockets. Because again, burning a business, like you said, that has insurance, it's not really hurting nobody. It don't hurt nobody. And that's just what I think. Because look, people at the end of the day, somebody said after 4 years they're gonna forget about George Floyd and they still gonna go spend their money on Gucci. You know, like even with the thing, right? With the blackface, everybody was complaining we canceling Gucci, the blackface. People still going to spend their money in Gucci. They don't, and this is the prime example. Nobody cared. Like if black people got on some like we not gonna buy from Gucci, if they got on some we not gonna buy from none of these stores, this is really hurting their pocket. But going to burn it down and then you still gonna spend your stimulus, you're still gonna spend a little bit of money the government give you on it, or your scamming money or your hard-earned money, you're still gonna go spend it at these stores. It's we're not doing nothing. We ain't hurting nobody's pocket. And that's just my opinion.
I feel like to me, it's just I don't know. I feel like the question that I asked when this whole situation was happening, when people were looting, when people were rioting, I felt like one, a lot of the reasons why is because it's a pandemic, right? Which I said that one, people have time, and also people are lacking resources. So somebody going into CVS and stealing all the tissue and stealing all the toothpaste to me doesn't scream to be a person that I mean, I guess it is a hustle, but to me, it's like those are necessity, those are items, right? And to say, even if we're gonna transcend that over, and we're gonna talk about, these luxury items, right, such as Gucci, Louis, whatever, boom, 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 right? We live in a country, we live in a very capitalistic world, right? That the gap in terms of poor people, and this transcends race, right? When we talk about class, right, the gap between the poor and the wealthy is very large. And for we consistent in what and specifically what capitalism does, right, is it throws these things in our face, right? It throws these chains, it throws these designer items in our face continuously, and these things are all signifiers of like wealth, right? And so the fact that these people, to me, what why are people, the question that into my mind is like, why are people this poor, right? Like, why are people, it makes sense, right? Like in a pandemic, people's first reaction, you may call it dumb, right, to like run to a Gucci store and grab a bag, run to a Gucci store, run to a Louis store and grab a belt, whatever, right? But it's kind of sad that that was the only opportunity that these people felt that they had in order to access these things, right? It's literally through like a broken glass, right? It's literally through going into the store in the middle of using this riot to gather these things. And these things are not important, right? Like these items are not important, and we can look at it from that perspective. But I feel like people who are in poverty think differently. We know this to be true. They think differently than people who are not raised to be in poverty. Um, and it to me, it's like y'all have been disenfranchising these people who are looting like for years, right? Like y'all have not allowed them to like get an education, right? Like y'all have allowed them not to get a steady job, or if they do even go that same right now, they're in debt. You know what I'm saying, in terms of college loans, or now they're working a minimum wage job that doesn't allow them to even pay their minimal bills. So to me, like I'm more concerned with those type of things, right? Like it just goes back to that. Like everybody want to talk about like looting and going running in the Gucci store, blah blah. I don't care about those things. I care about the larger picture. Why are people doing these things, right? Why do people feel like this is their only way of accessing these materialistic items?
I think I would say this. I don't think it's poor is poor people that think a certain way. I think it's black people that think a certain way. You know, I think, and this is what me and you was talking about this with Carl Hart, right? Trying to blame poverty, right? Trying to take like the blame away from drugs and saying drugs is not really bad, whatever the hell she said. And he was trying to say it's a poverty issue, right? And just now you're trying to say poor people think a certain way, right? But I can give you countless examples of people who are poor who don't think the same way that black people do, right? I could give you examples of Jamaican people that might come from overseas, right? And don't think, and they poor, but they don't think like black people think. I could give you an example of Haitian people, Dominican people. I could give African people. I could give you countless examples of people who are poor, who do not think like black people think, right? So I think it's how black people think. It's not necessarily that they're in poverty, because there's plenty of people who've been in poverty who don't think like the average black, I would say the average black person, who don't think how the average black person thinks, right? So it's even some of us who are black, right? And we don't think how the average black person think, right? We don't think about, oh, we gotta have this, we gotta have that, or we gotta front, or we gotta, and we get it. It's connected to capitalism, but I don't think it's necessarily a poor thing, because there's a lot of poor people who just be thinking like, you know what? There's a lot of poor people who start businesses. There's a lot of poor people who what I'm saying, they be like, they go get, even if you look at I want you to, you can do this as a research, right? If you look at the demographics of black people in colleges who are getting degrees, and I'm not black people, right? And I'm not talking about, when I say black, I'm not talking about Caribbean, I'm not talking about African, I'm not talking about somebody who is not a descendant of slave in America. I'm talking those people I'm talking about, right? If you look at how many black people, right, are going to college. Look at how many black people, I'm saying, are graduating high school. And we could blame all of that on their conditions, and we could blame all that, oh, their upbringing and this and that and the third. But I'm just trying to tell you, black people have a certain mindset. You know why? Even when black people get rich, look at a lot of these rappers. They get rich, they get money, and they still be doing stupid stuff. Like, what I'm saying? Like, how you got money and you keep getting caught up in crime? And you keep, what I'm saying? Like, it's just like you look at certain people like the Casanovas, the Kodak Blacks, the C Murders, We can name a whole bunch of artists that made money, made millions, and they still had an ignorant mindset. Come on, like we could talk about countless people that have money that left the poverty scene, but they still was making stupid choices. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's necessarily about money. I think it's just certain people just have a certain black folks just got a certain mindset because their conditioning and what they've been through. They got a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And some of them, even when they recognize certain things, they just in love. They just in love with with that ninja stuff. You know what I'm saying? They just love that ninja stuff. You know what I'm saying? They love their fried chicken. Even though fried chicken bad, you know what I'm saying? They just love it. They just love it. And I think like that's it's the philosophy, man. The philosophy of black folks is what keeps them in certain conditions. And I don't want to go into the whole black folks thing because we went all over the place and we talking about the verdict. But I just think that we still have the same philosophies. This is why 40 years later, we still think that burning down businesses and burning down, whether it's in our neighborhood, we still think 40 years later, we still think burning stuff down going to bring some change. And it didn't bring no change. You know what I'm saying? Before Malcolm X, it didn't bring no change during Malcolm X. And it's probably not going to bring no change after Malcolm X.
Okay. So I read this book called The Broken Ladder. It's about how inequality affects the way we think, live, and die. It's by Keith Payne. He's a psychologist. Psychology is very important, right? And in this book, he basically emphasizes the effects of inequality, specifically on the mind, right? And going back to the point that you said, right, about how we see these rappers, right, who make it out of the hood and continuously make these poor decisions, and these things are deeper than just because they're black, right? It is conditioning, right? And we have to address these things as such. You know what I'm saying? We have to talk about these things like as such, right? It's not, if we had put anybody, we put white people, we put Asian people, we put any race of people in these situations, they would have resulted in doing the same thing, because this is the way that the mind works, right? So people who are in states of, and it's specifically inequality, right? It's not about poverty. So in situations where everybody is relatively poor, the happiness meter is much higher, right? And specifically within America, inequality is more important, or it's more detrimental than I could say than poverty, is because, like, you literally, New York, for example, right? You can literally see a homeless person on the street, and then you can see a woman walking past with a $15,000 bag on her shoulder, right? So what happens is we're seeing where we could be at, right? Like these things are being flashed in front of our face continuously. We're constantly seeing, that we're losing, right? Or that's how we interpret it, right? So when human beings, right, like so basically in this book, right, for I can't say that word, but whatever. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. And a psychologist basically did like a bunch of studies. And the study basically showed, like, within people who found out that they were being paid significantly less than others at their job, all reacted emotionally and not logically, not from the perspective of, oh, let me put in the work and I'm gonna work harder. Right? Like that wasn't immediately what came to the head. They all immediately became emotional and immediately felt underappreciated. So that just goes to show you that when people are in high states of poverty, their logic is not high states of inequality. Sorry. People are not thinking logically, right? As a human being, it is human for us to compare ourselves to everyone else. They did this with monkeys, right? Like we did this with monkeys where we gave one monkey a banana, we gave the rest grapes, right? And so now that one monkey with the banana, you know what I'm saying, is all staring at everybody else, you know what I'm saying, and acting belligerent, acting emotionally, you know what I'm saying, because they see that they're not getting what everybody else is getting, right? So for me, like, those were just two of the many different things that he breaks down about how the mind over time is affected by inequality, how people who live in high states of inequality are unable to plan in the future. You know what I'm saying? Are unable to think of 401ks, unable to think of what they're going to do in the next few years, right? And so I recommend for everybody to read that book. That book definitely changed, because I kind of had similar thoughts to you, right? And when I read that book, it just changed, like, my mind. So there's a psychology behind it, and it's real, and it affects the mind.
I don't agree because I just gave you an example
Okay.
of Jamaican people coming here from extreme poverty, I'm saying, because poverty over there looks different than poverty here,
Right.
right? I just gave you an example. When these people come here, they live in black communities, right?
Uh-huh.
So I just gave you an example of people coming from extreme poverty, Africans, you know what I'm saying, coming from extreme poverty and starting their businesses here. Somebody said poor people don't start businesses. I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? If you even read about
So,
what?
what did I say about inequality and poverty? The difference between poverty and inequality. So when we talk about places like Africa, when we talk about places like Jamaica, right? Is it relative poverty or inequality? The reason why Black Americans think the way that they do is because of inequality. In Jamaica, the majority of people in Jamaica who live in one set community are poor, right? They're raised around the same amount of people that make almost the same amount of money that we do. Only in our communities are we seeing people who are making $20,000 a year, but next door we know somebody that makes $60,000 a year, or who is scamming, who are however getting their money, they getting their money, and so we're seeing where we could be, but we're not. That's
That's
the
not true. Cause you don't have, first of all, if it was like that, the tax will be will looking different in the hood. You know what I'm saying? Poor people live in certain neighborhoods, right? So you don't have, maybe in your neighborhood, but if you look across, poor communities, you don't have somebody that makes 60, 70,000. What?
middle income people live,
Middle income, and middle income where?
hold on, Black middle class, and this is facts. So
Where's the black middle class? Where's the black middle class in New York?
Black middle class is not really, it's not really a middle class, right? So there's people,
Okay.
hold on, there's people who make, I'm not gonna say a little bit, because if you making $20,000 a year, somebody's making $40,000 a year, that's a huge jump. You know what I'm saying? But the Black middle class, specifically the Black middle class, majority of them live amongst the poor Blacks, right?
There ain't no black middle class.
I know you're trying to prove a point, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
No,
Like,
I don't. I don't. You're saying black middle class. There ain't no black middle class.
all right. Anyways, like I was saying, to your point, right, about you bringing up Jamaicans and you bringing up Africans, is that they don't live in America. So it's different. In America, the states of inequality is the worst amongst all countries. And that's the difference. We're not talking about poverty. We're talking about inequality. That's what I'm talking about. So I understand what you're bringing up, but you're proving my point because they don't
I'm,
grow
I'm,
up.
I'm really not. We make excuses for black folks. That's what we do. These books, that's what they do. They
Mm,
make, they enable black people to behave in the way that they behave. You know
I
what I'm
just,
saying? You could disagree. That means not true. You know what I'm saying? These books enable black people to think inferiorly. They to feel how they feel. This is really the psychology behind why black, because you know why they're always being coddled. They always be like, oh yeah, but you went through slavery. Oh yeah, but it's okay. The system keep oppressing you. Oh yeah, but it's all right because you know you can't get nowhere because of your condition. It's all right. It's all this is what these books do. They coddle people. I used to have that same mindset. I used to sit here and used to be like, then I could sit here and be like, y'all went to jail because I was black. This happened to me because I was black. I can't get out the hood because I'm black. I had that same mindset till I started, you know what? And learning about new ideas. I'm saying this is why Psycho Cybernetics is a great book. And I always tell people, go read the Psycho Cybernetics because it teaches you that once you block the receptors in your brain to think you're inferior, once you sit there and you start telling yourself that the white man got you down, that inequality, that equity, that all of these things. That's why I don't read those books no more. That's why I don't read these books that these black folks be out here putting, blaming stuff on the poverty, and the reason why you're in poverty is because of the white man, or blaming stuff on the drugs, and the reason why you was doing drugs is because of the white man, or blaming. No, no, that's not gonna get our people to move. That's not gonna get our people to move. You know what I'm saying? Once you start telling your people like, yo, bro, be accountable to your actions, man. You could be out here starting a business too. You could be out here doing things. You could be out here, you know what I'm saying, being conducive. Don't spend your money on liabilities. Do this. We could be doing that too, but we not. We sit here and be like, you know, we talking about equity. We talk about mass incarceration. We talking about this. Is there a lot of crime in the black community? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like I said, I've been broke. I've been dead broke. I could have went out there. I could have borrowed a gun from somebody and went out there and robbed somebody. And guess what? And I would have came back and made an excuse and be like, it's just poverty. The white man got us living in poverty, so I had to go rob somebody. No, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, it comes to a point of time where we got to be real with our people. We got to be real with each other. And I'm not saying that those things are not what you're saying, Kyle. I'm not saying that what you're saying is not at play. What I'm trying to say is that the bigger thing that is holding us back is our mindset. It's the way that we think, the way that we do things. That's why sometimes when we have money, that's why when these rappers have money, they splurge it. They run through it. You know why? Because they have a certain mindset. Their mindset haven't changed. It's only a few rappers who are smart, go into business, and they, you know what I'm saying? They buy assets and they keep building on their money. Look at Kanye West. Jay-Z been at it before Kanye West, right? And Kanye West passed Jay-Z. And everybody gonna say Kanye West is bugged out and he might have sold his soul. They're gonna say whatever they say about Kanye West, but Kanye West is smart. Kanye West is smart. And he says the same thing. He's like, yo, I'm not making excuses. I don't care if you say I left the community. I don't got love for the hood. You could say whatever you say about me, but I'm not making excuses for myself or for other black folks when there's a whole world of possibility out there and you could go out there and get it. And that's the example I was trying to make. People come here, poor people come here, and this is why people from the diaspora look at us a certain way. They look at black folks a certain way because they're like, yo, y'all be having these programs that will give you a jump start. Y'all be having these programs, you know what I'm saying? Like that will pay for your school. You have these programs that will maybe help you start up a business. You know, you just got to know where to look. You know what I'm saying? We're vested and getting loans and certain things. You have these programs that we can't even get because we're not citizens. And then they come here and they whatever, they still figure it out and they erect businesses. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, like we can't keep sitting here doing that. We can't, even though the country does make it easier, I believe. The country makes it easier for some of these groups. At the same time, I think that we could get it done too. But you know what? They killed the fight out of us. They killed the drive out of us. The moment they burnt our businesses, when we first had businesses, the moment they killed our leaders, the moment they continuously kill somebody in the street, they killing our drive. They're killing our drive, our creativity. That's what they're doing to us. And because they're killing our drive, you can't let nobody kill your drive unless they kill you. You can't. You can't let nobody kill. Like, picture this: somebody telling you, "Stay home. You're not gonna eat," and you really gonna stay home and not eat, and you're not gonna go out and try to get it. You're not gonna go out and try to get a job. Even the homeless people be on the train. They'll be opening the door. You know what I'm saying? They'll be opening the door at Dunkin' Donuts. They'll be opening the door at McDonald's trying to work for their money. Even the homeless people be doing this. But it's like, come on, man. Like, we can't. I just feel like, I don't know, man. It's countless examples of people that were broke and did something. So I don't think it's a broke mindset. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe I just think too differently out the box.
So I understand what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying. I'm not saying what I said about the book and about the psychology of inequality is not me saying well, because it is, this is how it is, this is how it's always going to be, boom boom. I'm not saying it to justify that. I agree with you, right? At the end of the day, we got to change our mindsets, right? We got to do the work within ourselves, and part of me reading that book was a part of that. You know what I'm saying? Because these feelings and these emotions that come with being somebody that we talk about all the time, right? It feels like, people who have kids, right? And people who are getting taxes right now, people who have kids or people who are doing, illegal things, you know what I'm saying? They running it up right now. Right now they're winning, right? And maybe in a few years, the IRS will catch up to them, and we'll see some charges. But for right now, people who are maybe working at a central job, going to work every single day, who decided that they're gonna have kids, who decided that they're going to gonna go to college, right? When they get their taxes back every single year, you know what I'm saying? Like, you see, like, the girl who's on welfare and has two kids, you know what I'm saying? She just came back with 10 bands. The chick who is working hard every single day, who has a 9 to 5, who's going to school, who don't have any kids, you know what I'm saying? She may be getting what, 1, 2 bands back. So what does that, so how people react to that and how I used to react to that, right? And I'm just speaking personally from experience, is emotionally, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, dang, like, yo, I feel like I'm doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's like, yo, like, they're like incentivizing people to like be in messed up situations. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I felt. So that's how I felt. And part of me reading that, part of me being attracted to that book and reading that book was a part of that. Because what it did is it helped me understand the psychology behind that. So this is why I recommend people to read that, because these feelings that we have, these emotions that we have are real. And so a part of us being human. It's comparing yourself to somebody is a human attribute. You know what I'm saying? We all do it, but we need to understand like why we do it, right? It helped me understand that. And now whenever I do that, I quickly gather myself. You know what I'm saying? It's very, especially now in this era in social media, it's very easy to compare yourself to somebody. It's very easy for you to be like, dang, you know what? I'm just gonna hit this one lick and all right, I'm gonna do it smarter than everybody. That's how everybody starts. Because we look on social media and we see everybody's winning. We turn on the TV, we see these ads. We go on YouTube, we see ads. We see ads everywhere, right? Of things that they want us to buy, 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 buy. So for me, that's why I was recommending that book, right? Because it helped me in my mind state and it helped me deter certain thoughts that enter my mind. So yeah, I'm not using it as an excuse, right? I'm not saying like, oh, this is what it is. So black people just, that's it. Like, nah. I definitely feel like people have to take personal accountability, and there are opportunities out here for us, right? Um, but yeah, that's
To
it.
give you another example, people been scamming right now like crazy. What are they doing with the money?
Right.
Going to Gucci, going to get little fanny packs.
Oh wait, you start off by saying what people are what scamming, right? That's also part of the problem too. You know what I'm saying?
But what I'm trying to show you is when people get money fast,
Right.
when you become a rapper, even if you work hard for your money, mindset. Some people, like I told you, I have known people who sit here and complain about bills. They'll sit here and complain, but you out every weekend. You out every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You need eyelashes every week. You
Mm-hmm.
need nails done every week.
Mm-hmm.
You need your hair done every week.
Mm-hmm.
While y'all sat here and y'all made fun of Shorty, y'all made fun of that immigrant mom who was looking crazy every day, who didn't go out, who didn't get her nails done, who didn't even get her feet touched. But guess what? She bought a crib. You know what I'm saying? She bought a business.
Mm-hmm.
She did something. You know what I'm saying? The mindset, going back to mindset. You would laugh at some African dude that just works his little job, might smell funny, whatever, we do the little jokes. He dressing funny, he wearing funny clothes. But guess what? He saved his money. He didn't do what you did. He didn't succumb to what we succumb. And he did something. He bought a crib. And then after that, right, when the years get, down the line when we old and we don't got nothing, we don't got a crib to live in, we don't got nothing, we'll sit there and cry. I'm telling you, man, we will sit there and be regretful. So somebody asks, how do you change the mindset? I think the greatest book that I read about your mind is Psycho-Cybernetics. Psycho-Cybernetics taught me, this was the most valuable thing Psycho-Cybernetics taught me. And this book changed my whole mindset. It just messed me up, right? And it's funny, my homegirl gave me this book. She was like, yo, you're an angry black man. She called me an angry black man, gave me the book. But it's funny because later on she came back, she was like, I understand why you so passionate and why you move a certain way. But anyway, this is the best thing she did. This is the best book I ever read when it concerns the mind. And the book basically said this: the self-image is the key to your success. Self-image. And your image is not just how you look at yourself, it's also how you look at your people. It's also how you understand, like how you it's not just an environment, it's also like who you are, who your family is, who your ancestors are, and who your people are. That's just self-image. Because you can carry yourself as a beautiful, attractive, smart young lady, right, with morals. But if all the other women that look like you are categorized in a certain light, in a certain manner, it affects you subconsciously. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you know when you walk down the street.
You know how people are gonna perceive you.
Exactly. So it even that affects you. So
Mm-hmm.
the book breaks down that your self-image is very important to your success.
Mm-hmm.
So and then the main thing he said was this. He said, look, if you are meant to believe that you are inferior, that you are less than, that you can't achieve, he said you set up blockers in your brain that will prevent you from receiving any information that's going to make you successful. He said the person who believes that you are meant to be oppressed and that you are meant to be poor or live in detrimental conditions, he said you will squander any opportunity that you get at being successful. You know, and that was the biggest thing because I even seen myself doing that. You know how many times I try to keep it too real? You know what I'm saying? You know how many times I try to, I just was thinking too much in my head, right? Like when somebody white does something nice for me, and I'm like, yo, why this white person doing this? You know what I'm saying? They up to something. They trying to like just having those just the thought that takes too much energy. It takes too much energy. And I think in America, everything is so racialized that we always thinking about race. And I told people this. Sometimes you might not get a job. And let's say you and a white person was trying to get the same job and the white person got it. You most likely gonna assume you didn't get the job because you was black. You know what I'm saying? And that goes into our mechanism, right? Because since elementary school, we've been told something. Since elementary school, we've been told our people were dumb. They got here on slave ships. They never navigated the world before the Europeans. The Europeans civilized them. The European did this. You know what I'm saying? We're constantly, even, we talk about the map, right? The world map that they show us. Africa is small. It's just all these things, right? When they showed us images about hungry kids in Africa, right? Eating dirt. Like they just show us all the negative things. So we already think our people, our ancestors was already behind, right? And then when we think about our families here, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, you came here, you was a slave. Little do we know people came here, African people came here before European people. So I just think even in school, right? Like you have people that fail class. How is it that you have these white people? And again, I'm not comparing. I know white people be having, support in other areas and stuff, but it's just the mindset, like me, right? People always constantly tell me you got to go to school, you got to go to school, and I hate that. I hate that you trying to like everybody's conforming to societal norms, and you want me to go the same route like you. You want me to just, yo, bro, this is the only way, and it stops our creativity. So the book Psycho-Cybernetics, it not only does it tell you what the problem is, because the dude is a plastic surgeon, and what he said in the book, he talks about a lot of people came here to get plastic surgery from me, and they still felt the same way after they left. They still felt ugly. And he said, these were beautiful. He said, I have met some of the most beautiful people that came here to get surgery and get work done, and they didn't even need it. So it was something psychologically wrong with them.
Right.
That made them feel like they needed to get work done. So he was just saying, like, it's in the mind, it's how you operate your machinery. And he was just saying how to tap into parts of your brain, your subconscious mind, to have more positive thoughts, more, and I know it sounds like, oh, it sounds cliche, but no, this is real, bro. Like we hold ourselves back a lot of the times.
That's
Like, and I think a lot of these books that you read about black suffering and all these black issues, they never give you solutions. They never give you solutions. They might give you a little theory. They might tell you a little something, but this book, he's literally giving you solutions. He's giving you a breakdown of how your brain works and how to kind of like undo some of the work. And it's going to take a little while, but he's giving you solutions in this book. And I think that's a great book. I might even have to reread it. I just bought the new version of the book, Psycho-Cybernetics. So I just think that when we constantly hear stories of suffering, that's why I'm not buying no more books of stories of suffering. All the books I'm buying is self-help books, because whatever I apply to the white man can apply to me too. And I think that's the biggest thing. Some people get out here and they be like, I'm not going to read from no white author. I'm not gonna read from nobody who's not black. I'm not gonna read, and I'm just like, yo, do you know white people read from black people? Do you know white people study black people? Do you know white people study the psychology of black folks? White people study about your ancestors. They study about a whole bunch of stuff. So you you only you only getting the short end of the stick when you sit here and you tell yourself you're not going to read from white folks or you're not going to learn about certain things. You only shorthanding yourself. So, and the way I look at it, when I read those self-help books, whatever these white people are reading and they're coming up and they're going in the stock market and coming up, or they doing whatever they doing in their business deals, that applies to me too. And that's how I look at it. You ain't no better than me. The same way you could read something and you could come up on the stock market and you could come up in an investment, I could do it too. And that's the mindset we need to have. And I just went in on a long spiel, but you know what I'm saying? That's just the mindset we need to have. We need to stop telling ourselves like the reason why we think no, cool. That's all right. If you want to read that, don't stop there though. And a lot of times we stop there. And you know, that's all I gotta say. Two of you was over there typing. What's up?
Mm-mm.
You don't got
No,
nothing to say?
no. We going on an hour and 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's been an hour. This was a little long.
Mm.
Um, yeah, we started off with the trial, but yeah, people. I got money phone. But yeah, I just the last thing I want to say, look, people getting bread right now. It's a prime example. They're not doing nothing with it. I'm saying they're not investing it, even though you know the federal the somebody was like they rock with your demeanor.
Thanks.
She know when to shut up, right? That's cool. Some people don't know when to shut up, like me. I don't know when to shut up. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? I'll be talking my way out of some good situations. But you know, I'm trying to get it together, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to learn how to shut up. But I'm just saying, man, we gotta be better with our money, man. That's it, man. That goes for me too. I sat here, I've been there, thousands of dollars in the bank, and I splurged it. I splurged it. I could have sat there and said, "Oh, my mom said, you know, I was never taught in high school how to money manage. My parents didn't have, you know what I'm saying? I could did all that. But I'm like, nah, bro, use a dummy. You played yourself, and now you broke. And now you calling your friends to borrow some money.
Mm.
Just like my man's made a video the other day. You just got your stimulus check, but you calling me already to borrow $100. Like, bro, didn't you get your stimulus check? No shit, but yeah, it is what it is. But you know, I already dragged this long enough. If y'all enjoyed it, yo, look, somebody said I did the same thing. Damn, homie. I'm saying we gotta be better, man. We gotta have money. You know, they say 97% of people, it's not just black or white. They said 97% of people cannot afford a $500 emergency.
Mm-hmm.
That is sad. 90 and you know, and I say 97% of people, so the black people can't feel bad this time. You know what I'm saying? You can't feel bad this time because it's black and white, orange, purple, blue.
Yeah.
97
When we start talking about class, we that's when race kind of gets blurry because it's a lot of poor whites too.
exactly. And the thing is, because we live in New York City, we don't get the news
Right.
of poor white counties.
'Cause poor whites don't live in cities.
Exactly. We don't get the news of upstate New York. We don't get the news of Rome, Utica, Syracuse. We don't get the news of like Binghamton,
Right.
of Schenectady, of
Buffalo.
Kingston,
Yeah.
Buffalo, even though Buffalo, Rochester's, they got a lot of white folks and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But like, we don't get the news of these other counties where white people are. Man, they commit crime just as much as black people. They stealing just as much as black people. You know, so it's and this sound messed up. I felt good to see poor people in Maryland, poor white people in Maryland. I said, oh, I said, I felt good to see poor white people asking me for money. You know what I'm saying? And this sounds messed up, you see, but this is part of the mindset, right? Part
Saying
of the mindset, part of the mindset when race get involved, we feel good because we're so used to seeing black folks and we're fed the narrative of
that poor. Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? So when you start traveling, this is why traveling was one of the greatest things that happened to me too, right? You start traveling, you start meeting different people, you start seeing like, yo, you not the just because you black don't mean you just, you know what I'm saying? You just the epitome of suffering. Like there's plenty of people in Chicago, white people in Chicago that's messed up. There's
Mm-hmm.
plenty of white people in Detroit that's messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like it's plenty of white people all over the country, man, that's messed up, man. Go to some of the Midwest states. Go to the Minnesotas and then Indianas and these different places. Go there. You're gonna see it's mad white people messed up too. I'm saying like Benjamin Franklin, he was poor. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if y'all know the story of Benjamin Franklin. He was poor. If you read the story about New York in the early 50s, 40s, 30s, when these poor white folks was coming here, yeah, they had a little assistance. Don't get me wrong, but black folks was also doing good at some point. And white people came and sabotaged it and they killed the fight out of us. So that's what I'm trying to say. They managed to kill the fight out of us, and we just can't let the fight die. You know, like the brother said, I don't care if you lose and still fight back. You heard? And the words of Pop Smoke. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? You don't stop fighting because you're getting beat. You know what I'm saying? But let me just stop talking, man, because I keep going too long, man. They live in trailers. Yeah, some people live in trailers, broken down homes. They can't take care of their homes. Come on, man. Poverty is real. But let me tell you something. Opportunity is also real too. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the United States might be one of the only places where you can be poor, but you can also become rich. You know what I'm saying? So I think that yeah, when we just so dwell on poverty and we don't highlight like, yo, bro, but at the same time, you could come up, bro. Like we don't talk about that, right? Like we just be like poverty, inequalities, mindset, boom, boom, boom. But we don't talk about like, yo, bro, you can come up. What's so different? What's so different about Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kanye West, Jay-Z? What's so different? What makes it so different? They came from places that we live in. What makes them so different? What makes them so special? What makes them so different than us? Their mindset and their determination. They they killer instinct. You know what I'm saying? Kobe Bryant, you know what I'm saying? He had the Mamba mentality. That's the mentality that we need to have. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna get up out of here because Kai already trying to leave. You know what I'm saying? She over there playing Candy Crush. You know what I'm saying? I remember somebody was saying that.
Actually, I'm playing Pac-Man. Thank you very much.
Uh, uh, somebody was saying that we don't need money, bro. Word, definitely. But if I said anything that benefited y'all, came from the Most High, from whatever He has taught me, and from places He has allowed me to go and acquire knowledge from older people than me, and just from living and seeing other people's experiences. You know, if I said anything wrong or harmful or detrimental to somebody's day or mindset, it came from me. You know what I'm saying? I make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the best. I'm working on how to disseminate my message. You know what I'm saying? But like at the end
Come
of the day, like what you said?
through. I said, come through accountability. Come on, King.
Yeah, we ain't gonna get to that because you talking about the white king the other day, you know what I'm saying? But that's a whole nother
That's
conversation.
conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation. We're gonna get into them interracial relationships. We gonna we gonna get into them interracial relationships.
Yes, we
But
are.
make sure y'all stay safe out there. Summertime's coming. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all be safe, take care of y'all kids. Y'all be good. Till next week. Be safe.
Peace.
Peace.